All right, David, we got a message from somebody on YouTube. It's not a message, it's a comment. And I actually got a message that somewhat correlates to this in my Facebook messages this morning. I think it's important that we answer this question. We take the trust of our listeners very seriously, and I hope that you know that when I say that Shopware is the best automotive shop management system, I believe it in my heart of hearts, and now it's even better. With new features like Tech App, it streamlines the inspection and dispatching process for you and your technicians. And with massive improvements to Shopware's exclusive digital vehicle experience, they have stepped their game up to a whole new level. So if you haven't scheduled a demo yet, click the link in the show notes and do it today. If you've already had a demo and you were waiting to finally switch, there has never been a better time. So click that link and get started today. This guy says, I'm an automotive tech of 21 years now. I'm currently at an independent shop that I've been with for almost 11 years. My job title is broad, maintaining and fixing a lot of things around the shop that aren't automotive related, like keeping the waste oil heaters clean and running. I've diagnosed and replaced parts on lifts, including motors and cables. I watch our bulk oil tank levels and report when needed. I take the hardware inventory and make the orders. I do 100% of the diagnostic and programming work. I get all the more challenging mechanical work like deep engine work. At one point, the previous owner had 5 shops under the same name, just in different towns. Unfortunately, he passed away of cancer in his early years of 70. For years before this, or before his passing, it's always been in the works that the general manager would take over and purchase the one shop where it all started. I've always worked at that one shop, but would travel from time to time to help with a problem-solving diag or work when needed. I have no problem with this because I enjoy really challenging jobs while also being able to help and teach another tech. However, the past 6 months or so, I'm not very happy about going into work. I feel it's far more than just one reason. I'm looking for a pay raise, but I don't want to ask for a raise when I feel like that's not the only thing on my mind. We ask a shop, we're going to have to cut that.
There's no cutting. We don't cut anything out.
We, as a shop, have somehow moved away from doing the things the way they have always been done, like a vehicle shakedown inspection and writing everything down that's needed. There are parts of the shop that are a mess and have been for a while now. I've actually cleaned some of it up myself. I do it because I don't like working in an environment like that. There are sheets at the front desk service and sales advisor are supposed to fill out. They aren't always completed. Information like the VIN and plate number, tire condition, lights on the dash, current dings and dents to the vehicle before we touch them. I'm very comfortable here, and I like the guys I work with. There are currently 4 techs, including me. We do have a part-time tech as well. There are 5 to 6 tire and lube techs on the other side with 1 alignment tech. At one time, the shop used to be just a tire shop and evolved into a full service shop. I'm just not sure how to approach my current concerns with the shop. It's not just about making more money. I want to make more money, sure, but I also want the shop to make its fullest potential and run at its fullest potential while also being a good work environment that I want to wake up and work in every day. Good money won't make me stay. I'm sure that me going to the owner and barking off all the problems and concerns I have with the shop is a good thing. Or he says, I'm not sure. The owner is pretty much around every day, but doesn't spend much more time in or around the shop, mostly in the office. He does walk through the shop from time to time. What do you think when you hear that, David?
He's bitching? I don't know. Like, listen. Everybody's the idea guy. Everybody wants to be the idea guy. Mm-hmm. I've got some great ideas. Yeah. I'm going to be able to fix this business. Okay. Everybody's the idea guys. But they don't always bring solutions and then an action plan to implement. They bring problems. Hey, I find this to be a problem. It's like, okay, I think we should maybe do it this way or that way. And maybe they'll suggest a solution, maybe. And then what they lack a lot of times is perspective. So they'll offer a solution, but they don't think of how that affects everybody else in the shop, how it affects vendors, and here's another one. Like, hey, that's going to cost money. Where are we going to come up with this extra whatever? Hey, the floors are always dirty. We should get a machine. That's a great solution to the floors are always dirty. It is $5,000 for that machine. Where are we going to come up with the $5,000? I don't know. Yeah, me neither. So get the mop out.
I took it very differently, as in that this person is saying that I've seen the decline, right? Now I've seen multiple sides of this employee type of relationship, right? I've been in friend shops who they've got an employee that's a problem employee, and I've talked to friends who have been through this. And so in some ways, I have seen employees who think there's a problem and who have manifest a problem up here, and they've begun to see everything as a problem because they don't like the leader, they don't like this person, they don't like that person, right? Yeah. So I've seen that happen before, and they get so bitter, they get so toxic, they get so upset that they begin to tell themselves things that aren't necessarily true. I did not read this in that way. I read this in, hey, like, I really care about the shop I work for. And it was ran as a professional shop before, but I'm seeing us begin to slip. I'm seeing the things that we did that made the shop work and do what it was supposed to do not happening anymore, right? Like, we're supposed to check the cars over. We preach that all the time. Check the car. And just like I've been listening to you over the past few minutes before we started recording saying, make sure the client declines those repairs. If she doesn't want to do anything, make sure she clicks decline on them before that car leaves. This is not about selling something. This is about the liability. This is about acting as professionals. And so to me, it's him saying, look, I want to work in a clean environment. I want to work in a professional shop. And it was really telling to me that he says in there, this is not about the money. More money wouldn't make me stay. It's not about the money, right? And so to me, that says, now, if it's not about the money, right, his motivation is not, I'm just doing this for a self-centered reason, and you can pay me to stay, right? It's him saying the culture in the business is broken. It's him saying that we're not doing what we're supposed to do.
No, maybe. If somebody else took over the business, it's possible that they took over the business, became overwhelmed with the volume of vehicles. Mm-hmm. How many lube techs did he say? Like tire techs, 5 or whatever?
5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah. That's a ton of people in the shop. So you have got to think that there is, 10 total, like, in the shop people, plus support staff. Mm-hmm. That's a massive business.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is no way one person is seeing the whole picture.
Yeah.
He thinks that we're cutting corners now. Are they cutting corners, or do they have to cut corners because they are now overwhelmed with cars? Are they overwhelmed with cars because their pricing is off? Maybe. Or they're not spending the money on the right kinds of marketing. They're just dumping mailers out, and they've got this huge influx, and hey, let's just get them out. If he came with hey, our ARO is $243. I'm listening to these guys on this podcast talking about shops that are doing $600, $700, and $800 AROs.
Yeah,
which is normal, right? For us,
pretty normal. Yeah,
we can triple our per average ticket, cutting down the amount of cars coming through the shop, allowing us to do a more thorough job on each vehicle, reducing our overall liability. That's not the same conversation as we're not doing it the way we used to. Well, why aren't we doing it the way we used to? And I understand the sentiment. I understand how he feels. I understand. I've been there. It's just that, and I have employees now. I have one employee who's always coming to me with that. I'd like the solution. I'd like the solution. I'd like the solution. Or I see this problem. I think I can bring a solution to the table. And I appreciate every single one of those conversations. I really do. because they bring perspective to a situation that maybe I didn't consider.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like, maybe we're already doing that. You're just not seeing it.
Yeah.
Maybe they are being that thorough. He's just not seeing it because it's a support staff person. They never interact. You're one of 15, 20 people. That's a lot of people. Like, you don't see everything that's going on. You don't see the conversations up at the front counter. You only see what you see in your little bubble. And so I don't know. I think he is souring himself to that situation. Maybe he was more relied on before, and now he's just one of the 20 other people there. And that is a situation he doesn't like.
I could see that, right? And in our shop, we have those daily meetings to where everybody's involved in the meetings and we're talking about what we liked and what went well. And sometimes we don't do a good job in the meetings and we're getting rushed before we get into the meetings and things like that. The thing that stands out to me about this is him saying that the shop is messy and nasty, right? And that that is a standout to me. The rest of it, I could agree with what you're saying. But when he says all of a sudden the shop's messy and nasty, and I'm trying to clean up the mess, I'm trying to make it look better, I'm trying to make it a professional environment. There's a lot of different ways to look at that, but I watched that happen to a local shop at one point. And it was a change of management in the shop, and all of a sudden there's stuff piled up everywhere, and there's rotors everywhere, and the floors we're not talking about greasy. I'm talking about you're not getting a client's car without sticking that much grease in the floor because the floor's got so much grease on it. If that's what we're talking about, that is something very different, right? This at that point, it is a management problem, right? Because management should not allow that to happen. We shouldn't have parts stacked up all over the place. So, I think without seeing what's happening and being there and experiencing it and understanding what the numbers look like, it's really hard to know.
That's a process issue. That's a process issue, though. Like, if there's no process for cleaning, there's no process for what to do with the parts. There's no process for X, Y, and Z. But at the same time,
I'm not disagreeing. I'm leveraging that point to say that it would be difficult for us to know, is this an owner problem? Is this a management problem? Or is this his perspective? We don't have enough information to know that one or the other.
Yeah, you're right. But if he's saying that it was clean, neat, and organized before, and now it's a mess,
yeah.
What he may not be seeing is that they were running a $450 ARO before, and new management comes in, and now they're running $200 ARO.
Yeah.
That is going to cause a messy situation in the shop. There are parts flying everywhere. Cars are coming in and out. And if they're on flat rate, and if they're running a 7-to-7 schedule, they are trying to pack in too many cars in through that shop. He's not seeing that part of it. And so the solution isn't, hey, I'm going to come to the management with all these issues that I'm seeing, right? Mm-hmm. Control what you can control. It is a different situation if that person didn't even bring it up to management, internalized the problems and said, I'm going to fix the messy situation, the clutter in my bay. My bay is going to be neat, clean, and organized. I'm going to turn more hours than the person next to me. I'm going to make sure my bay is the cleanest. I'm going to have a clean, neat, and organized process for my parts. I'm going to communicate that to my service advisor and to the shop manager, or whoever that happens to be. And hopefully by that person's example, I'm turning more hours than everybody else. I'm clean, neat, and organized. I don't lose parts. I know where everything is. On and on and on it goes. Somebody should recognize that. Hey, Bill is always clean, neat, and organized. You can walk through the shop and it is a dumpster fire everywhere except for Bill's bay. Bill's bay is always clean. And by the way, he's turning more hours than everybody else. By the way, he's selling more work than everybody else because he's inspecting every vehicle, but he's efficient. That's a different conversation. You've now set the example. You've set the tone. You are now the leader. Everybody's looking at you going, hey, how is it that you're able to execute on this? Is it difficult? Are you putting yourself in a very difficult situation? Absolutely. But it's either that or just quit. Go find somewhere else to go work.
I don't.
He can say that he cares about the place. Okay, then do what you can do to control the situation. That's it. You can't make the manager see all these things that you're seeing. If they choose not to see it or they don't care, you're not going to fix that. You can't do anything about that. You can only control what you can control. So control your bubble, your sphere of influence, right? You always talk about that.
Yep.
Control your circle. That's it. And that person next to you, that technician next to you in the bay over, maybe spills some grease and stuff or tracks grease to your bay. Talk to them about it. Say, hey, look at how I keep my bay nice and clean. I can help you do that as well. Just do this way. Okay. Now you've got 2 technicians keeping there and the other person on the other bay. Now you've got 2 or 3 bays that are keeping clean. Now everybody's looking at you. Hey, how are you keeping your bays clean? How are you not losing parts? How do you keep your warranties in order and your cores in order and your new returns in order? How is that you're able to do this and turn more hours? Because at the end of the day, all those little fringes are great, but if there's no additional profitability, who cares?
Exactly. Because slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And we don't always agree on these things. I really like this perspective. I think that's a really, really awesome perspective. And I think you're right. Because the rest of it could very much be out of his control, and he may never, ever be able to do anything about the rest of it.
But that's what he's getting upset over. That's what he's getting upset over. It's like, hey, I want to be able to control all these things, but and it's just like you're saying, it's going to turn sour. It's already looking like it's turning sour.
Yes.
Because he's looking at situations that he cannot control in any way, shape, or form. He has no control, no authority, no means to control it or change it or effect change on it. And now that's souring him to the whole situation. And so look, if you're fixing other things and you're doing all of this other work and you stop doing that and you're focusing on your job, right? And that brings up another issue is that a lot of shops are not setting proper expectations and job descriptions and here's what you're responsible for and here's what you're not responsible for. And in some ways that could lead to what we've got going on right here. Right? Because maybe, but at the same time, though, but at the same time, they may not give 2 flips whether he fixes that heater or not. He thinks that he's doing all this great extra work,
and they could be like he's just out there thumbing around.
Less. Well, not even that. It's like, hey, Bill, I appreciate you cleaning it, but at the same time, you turned me 30 hours, and the guy next to you did 50.
Yeah,
that's all they see. Well, in his mind, he's going, well, yeah, but I fixed that lift and I fixed the heater. And it's like, dude, I appreciate those extra things, but
hang on a minute now. If I'm in a shop and I am working in a shop and I see a safety issue or see something like that, it's my opinion. I have one of 2 obligations, and it's either that I'm going to go tell management this is unsafe and I want to make sure that technician knows it's unsafe, or I need to take action and do something so it's not unsafe. Those are my 2 options at that point. And so what do you do if you're in a shop where a lift is unsafe and management is not fixing it and the technician's still working on it? How do you handle that? Do you go fix it yourself at that point? I mean, how would you handle it, David?
If it were my lift?
I'm saying if you're working in a shop as a technician, you recognize that a lift is unsafe, another technician's working on it. Do you stop them from working on it? How do you handle it? What do you do?
Have a conversation with the technician. Say, you understand that that's unsafe. You understand that's going to hurt you. You understand that's going to kill you. And then you bring it up to management. Hey, this is unsafe. And if they refuse to do something like that, that should tell you a lot about management.
Yeah.
Like that should tell you that they don't care. Go find somewhere else to work. Do not call the government. They're not going to fix it either. There's no higher authority than the owner. If the owner doesn't give 2 flips, then it is what it is. Go find somewhere else.
Nothing else is going to change that, right?
Nothing. Well, even if, like, I don't know how many often we're like, call the labor law, call OSHA. Like, get out of here. OSHA doesn't even affect you if you've got a certain amount of or under a certain amount of employees. You're not even subject to certain OSHA laws. Like, at this, don't go tattling. Just leave. Just go find somewhere else to work. If they really don't care.
If I was in this technician's shoes, okay, I really like your strategy for handling it, and I think that is absolutely probably the best thing that he can do. And I hadn't even considered that, hadn't even thought about it that way. I looked at it like, how would I, as an owner, want to be approached by something like this? Right? Because the reason I did that is I'm thinking we're already to the point that something has to be done. He's already somewhat bitter. He's already somewhat frustrated. So if he's already there, the likelihood that he's interested in putting in work to change it from that aspect is probably pretty low.
Yeah.
And so my thought is how would I want it handled if it was one of my employees? Right. And so the first thing I'm thinking is, look, the general manager was in the shop when it was running differently before. And you know me, I like to ask questions. I like to understand first before I build this thought process up of why are we doing it this way and telling myself a story about why it's happening. I like to understand, seek first to understand. And so my first thought is I'm going to go to the general manager and I'm going to say, hey, Bob, man, can I talk to you for a little bit? And you pull him aside and say, I'd really like, maybe we could go to lunch, 15, 20 minutes, maybe. I want to have a good talk with you. And so you've been there for a long time. Surely you've got a relationship. If he's been the general manager the whole time you've been there, you've got a long-standing relationship with this person. And you say, Bob, man, we used to do things this particular way. And I'm really curious. I've noticed we're starting to do things a very different way now. Is there something behind that? Are you guys changing the business strategy? What's happening here? I'm just trying to understand. I want to make sure
it has to be asked exactly like that, because if he's like, things are not the way they were before, what's up? If it's not hey, I've seen some changes, I just want to understand the reasoning behind the changes.
Yes.
I want to make sure that I'm doing the best job possible for you.
Absolutely.
That attitude, the guy will open up to you and there'll be a good dialogue back and forth. If it's an accusatory or, hey, I see these problems, I think I can fix it.
Absolutely.
I know better than you. That person's going to shut down and they're not going to want to hear a goddamn thing you have to say. And all of a sudden you're a troublemaker. You are a troublemaker. But even then, I still think that you have to make the decision that if you're going to stay, start controlling what you can control and let the rest go.
I'm 100% with that. But my point is let's seek first to understand so we understand, are we in alignment with this business? Is this the type of business that we want to work in? Or are they changing things and their directive is we're changing in a different direction? It might be that he goes to the manager, the owner, whoever he is now, and he says, Bob, man, listen, golly, I am so stressed out. I'm doing everything I know to do. Things aren't going well. I just don't feel good. And I don't feel like I've got any support. Boys, we can fix that, right? We can do something with that. If he feels overwhelmed and he feels like it's not working, great. Let's start helping him put some solutions in place. It doesn't mean that we tell him how to run his business. It means that we give him some resources and say, man, there's a lot of resources. There's ASOG. There's Changing the Industry podcast. There's all of these podcasts out here you can go listen to. There's training events all over the country that they train owners and managers how to run the business. And so if you would go to some of that, I bet you could find some answers to make this better. But I promise if you don't go, you'll never have the time to make it better. Right? And so I think that it's either one of two things. He says, yeah, we're going to do this because if we get more cars in and out, we really just want to change to this model. We're not interested in all this other stuff we used to do. It was inefficient. We're not interested in that. We just want as many cars through here as we can. And so we're really trying to focus on that. And he's looking at it and he's saying this was an investment. Then that gives you your answer right there. If that's not the kind of shop you want to work for, if you don't want to be a number, you need to leave right now. Right? Yeah. Don't get bitter about it. Don't get mad. It's his business. He can run it how he wants to.
However he wants to, yep.
And so if he comes to you and says, look, man, this is way more stressful than I thought. I'm having a really hard time getting a grasp on things. I know things are kind of a mess right now, but it's just we've been short-staffed and I don't exactly have a grasp on this. If he's open and willing to share that with you, and he's willing to talk to you about it because you got a relationship with this person, that's when you step in and say, what can I do to help? Like, how can I make this better? I see some things on my end. What could I do to make it better for you? Yeah. Right? Because I care about you. You're part of this organization and we've been friends for a long time. I want you to have a good life too. And so I think it all starts with understanding first and then being willing to walk away or being willing to focus on your circle of control. You know, one of the first videos I ever made, and it was the stupidest video ever. I've still got it. It pops up from time to time. One of the stupidest videos ever was the circle of control. Right? And I'm going to tell you that for me, to this day, I watched it happen in the family business this week where somebody thought they did the right thing and they said something to someone else got upset, the drama wheel started. It was the craziest thing you've ever seen. And it turned into this argument. And these two people went back and forth. Somebody got fired over it, super duper hurt feelings. And that person that got fired over it came to me and said, am I just supposed to let them win? No, dear, listen to me. Life is not about winning and losing. It's about a destination. It's about where we're going. If you focus on winning every single thing that's in front of you, every single fight, you will absolutely be fighting the battle, losing the battle, and losing the war. You might even win this little short battle right now, but you will lose the war because you're not focused on trajectory. You're not focused on where you're going. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you focus on the circle of control, the things that I say, the things that I do, how I act, your life will get exponentially better. Because if you're a good person and you're a whole person and you're doing what's right for yourself and other people, the circle of influence expands and it gives you more ability to do more things. It gives you more ability to help more people and help yourself get a better life for yourself, right? It's such a pivotal concept.